And both of these are hard to come by. This one isn't as hard to come by as this one, but this one is called Africa's Lost Past, the startling rediscovery of a continent. And this was put together by professors who were commissioned by the nations that belong to the UN after the Africans got their independence. After the Africans got their independence, they expressed complete indignation over the misrepresentation that the African continent had received while they were under the domination of the white man. So they pressured the UN to take some of the leading scientists of this day to delve into the true history of Africa and compile a pamphlet on the lost civilizations. And so this book is a record put out by the UN, endorsed by the UN, which means it has the recognition and endorsement of all civilized, free, and independent nations on this earth. And in this book, it tells you, in a nutshell, about the Islamic civilizations that existed in Africa in the 8th century. The Islamic civilization, you know what that means? Muslim civilization. It means, please, it means that the Muslim empire, that the Muslim religion, that the Muslim culture, Muslim civilization was throughout West Africa in the area called Ghana, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Gold Coast, Nigeria, all down through there. Vast Muslim empire in the 8th century. You know what I mean by 8th century? In the year 700 something. Wait a minute. 8th century. Yeah, right? Yeah, 700 something. This means 800 years before America was discovered. 800 years before America was discovered. 800 years before you were kidnapped and brought here. I have to emphasize kidnapped and brought here because some of y'all think you come over here as pilgrims on the Mayflower. But 800 years before our forefathers were kidnapped and brought here, the white man admits today that the Islamic civilization, the Muslim civilization, stretched throughout Africa. And he has to admit it now. And just to read you one paragraph from this book to show you why he didn't want to go into it. And frankly, in one of our court cases in Buffalo, New York, a couple of weeks ago, the white man, because he couldn't get a Muslim to testify against Mr. Muhammad, he went to Columbia University and found a Jew professor who was supposed to have been an expert on Islam. And he paid this Jew to come as his witness for the state and try and prove that Mr. Muhammad wasn't a real Muslim, and also that there was no Islamic culture in Africa, that it's wrong to tell Negroes that we should be Muslims now because we were Muslim then, because there was no Muslim civilization in Africa. This is what this old man testified to, white man. So naturally, Allah blessed us to have this book from the UN, and he had to recognize it. Here in one paragraph it says, but the ancient capital of Ghana has another claim to distinction. It was the cradle of the Negro Islamic culture which flourished in the Sudan from the 8th century to our own day. Think of that. Bringing to fame such centers as Timbuktu and Debunking. Now, you know, brothers and sisters, you and I never heard of Timbuktu. When I was in school, they talked that Timbuktu talk. I thought Timbuktu was in California. And I went to school in Michigan. They never let us know that Timbuktu was in Africa. But here now they are saying that Timbuktu was one of the centers of learning in an Islamic civilization that existed in Africa 700 or 800 years before America was discovered. This is good. And when the man was trying to say that there was no, he also went on, but they read this paragraph, which said, in some ways, the most valuable of all the Arab sources are the first-hand reports of the two, as far as I know, the only two Arab traveler authors who made extensive journeys through the Western Sudan. And by Western Sudan in those days, they meant Africa. All of Africa was called the Sudan, because Sudan is an Arabic word that means, it's plural for black. when you say Sudan, you're talking about the land of the blacks. So here, it's speaking of these two Arabs who made journeys through the western Sudan, which means West Africa. Ibn Battuta and Leo Africanus. Both were remarkable men. Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Battuta, notice how they call him. They didn't say Jim Jones. Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Battuta. That's the kind of name you had before you came here. Was born at Tangier in 1304. Pick up on this, 1304. America wasn't discovered until 1492. That's almost 200 years later. And spent the greater part of his life traveling through the Muslim world of his day, visiting Arabia, Asia Minor, Khorasan, India, China, and Indonesia, as well as West Africa. You notice now what he said. He traveled through the Muslim world. And all of these countries that he traveled in were parts of the Muslim world. And he said, as well as West Africa. And see, the white men have taught you and me that in Africa, West Africa, people was eating, they were cannibals, like this cracker tried to say last night on the television. Which he reached in 1352. At this time, the empire of Mali still dominated the western Sudan, and Ibn Battuta gives an extremely interesting and human account of some of its institutions. Here's what he says. Speaking in the year 1352, 100 and some years before the discovery of America. Quote, the Negroes possess some admirable qualities. Now what you have to understand is, he didn't say Negroes, because he wrote this in Arabic. And these white professors have translated what Ibn Battuta wrote in Arabic into English. And so they're saying Negroes, but wherein Battuta, when he wrote it, he didn't say Negroes, because they didn't call black people Negroes in those days. See, you have to know all this in order to really read between the lines. The Negroes, meaning us, this is before America was discovered, possess some admirable qualities. They are seldom unjust, have a greater abhorrence of injustice than any other people. Let's pick up on it. Here this man, before America is discovered, is talking about black people are different from white people. Isn't that what he said? He said black people are against injustice. Black people are more so against injustice than any other people are against injustice. Why, this follows, you know the white man is not against injustice. He wouldn't have this country if he was. And he wouldn't have you here if he was. You wouldn't be as dumb as you are if the white man was against injustice. Don't be angry when I say you wouldn't be as dumb as you are. Because when I say, I mean we, all of us, we're all in the same boat. And we're dumb. Don't say we're not. How are we going to be in this boat if we weren't dumb? You can't put a wise man in this kind of shape, and we're in bad shape. You don't get in this kind of shape being wise. You get in this kind of shape being dumb. Right or wrong? Let's see. So he says here, their sultan, meaning their ruler, shows no mercy to anyone who is guilty of the least act of injustice. Without, you see, our civilization then was so right. It was right. Didn't have nothing but justice. No crime, no stealing, no fairies running around like you got throughout the Negro community today. There is complete security in their country. Talking about the civilization where you and I live. Complete security, no robbers, no murderers. Brother, this actually is describing heaven. This is what the man is doing. He's describing a civilization that has such high morals, such a high sense of morality, that it's almost like being in heaven. Neither traveler nor inhabitant in their country has anything to fear from robbers or men of violence. They are careful to observe the hours of prayer. On Fridays, if a man does not go early to the mosque, He cannot find a corner to pray in on account of the crowd. So many people go to the mosque to pray on Friday. The man says that if you don't get there ahead of time, you can't get in. Because these people by nature are religious. These people by nature turn to Allah to give praise and to give thanks. Brother, this is being written 200 years before the white man knew that the earth was round.